Ba la 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 la.
Peter.
Ba la 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 la.
Piper picked a pepper.
Ba la la.
Piper.
Ba la 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 la.
Peter picked a
Ba la
pepper.
la 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 la.
Peter picked
Ba la
We're
la la.
actually rolling.
the pepper. Oh, hi Gavin. we're back again after nearly 12 months, and it's our
Looking a lot younger.
yeah, and it's our best films that we saw in I gotcha. Yeah, it's not our best films. It's our alternative films that you may not have seen in 2014, and ones which weren't reviewed on the blog during the year. So we have 5 films each, and at the end we'll both give maybe one or two others a brief mention that we enjoyed, and that people might want to see as well. So I mean, do you want to start off, or will I start off, or
You start this year.
I kind of prefer if you did, but that's okay. I'll start off.
Yeah.
Okay, so my first film is Grand Budapest Hotel, which a lot of people have probably seen, but just in case a few people didn't, and you had intended to see it, and you need a timely reminder, I thought I'd throw it in there. So it's obviously a Wes Anderson film. He's had a lot of great films in the past, like Rushmore, Royal Tenenbaums, and more recently Moonrise Kingdom, etc. But he's a director that doesn't disappoint. And one of the things I really liked about the Grand Budapest Hotel was his imagination, I think, kind of went up another notch with this film. It was quite... the scene, or where the hotel was set, the characters, there was an amazing cast. You had obviously Ralph Fiennes, who was brilliant, Saoirse Ronan, who I thought was probably one of her best performances to date. You also had Willem Dafoe, Bill Murray, Tilda Swinton, Adrian Brody, Ed Norton, loads of amazing actors. And true to Wes Anderson's form, I think the humour was spot on. There was genuine LOL moments in this film. I remember being in the cinema and like laughing out loud, and it was just belly laughs. So good.
You lolled.
I lolled.
Yeah.
And so did nearly everyone else on the screen.
Yeah.
And it was a really feel good film, and it's probably my favourite of his since 2004 is The Life Aquatic. So I mean, I think it's personally I found it to be one of his best films the last 10.
I think he's getting better at making his own films.
Yeah.
Because of technology, since Fantastic Mr. Fox, the animation.
Yeah.
It felt like it almost felt animated at times.
Yeah, the kind of
Grand
backgrounds
Budapest.
were kind of not cartoony, but like kind of old style sets, like painted sets in the background.
Yeah,
thing
absolutely.
Like that. Yeah,
And the chase sequences are great with the ski lifts and how that was all orchestrated. So my first one is Lucy, which is it's a Hollywood action film, I suppose, but it's directed by Luc Besson, who is noticeably a French director. I suppose he's the most Hollywood of French directors. He's directed stuff like Fifth Element, La Femme Nikita, Leon the Professional, and more recently he's kind of been adopted by American films, and he's directed Taken 2, but it kind of has that French style to it all the same.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a little offbeat in terms of what you would expect in a sci-fi action film.
Yeah.
So it stars Scarlett Johansson and Morgan Freeman. Morgan Freeman we know well.
He's the guy who plays God in Bruce Almighty.
That's him, yeah. Or the guy who plays the Penguin in Penguin Hunt.
Yeah.
But the Scarlett Johansson is a particularly strong female character.
Yeah.
Which I'd like to note, because there people do be talking about lack of strong female roles.
True.
Holla, she is the shit, yo. She is this one mean bitch in this film, yo.
It's like, oh my, she's on fire.
Yeah, she is on fire. So basically what happens, the setup is that Lucy is taken captive, and she's basically turned into a drug mule. They store drugs in her body, which she then consumes, and she suddenly starts to use more of her brain. So her human cognition raises. Apparently, we only use 10% of our brain. But
normal people.
Well, I obviously use more, but
yeah, like about 15.
20. Yeah, 17. Yeah. But she starts using 20, 30, 40, 50, etc.
And it kind of reminded me a little bit of the films are totally different, but it reminded me a little bit of Bradley Cooper. What's it? The one where he takes the tablets and Limitless. Yeah, but just in that part.
Yeah, and a couple other films remind me as well was that of it was like a much better version of Transcendence.
Yeah.
Or as I call it, Transpudence.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of poo.
Yeah.
But and I think it also it kind of reminded me of Noah as well. Okay. Because Noah was like another Hollywood film, I suppose, but it was directed by Darren Aronofsky, and he had these flickering moments of time lapses and really nice cinematography and stuff like that welded into it, and it kind of kept that storyline, but managed to like slip in these moments of really nice art house kind of cinema. So it's like a. Yeah, I suppose it's like a Hollywood film directed by a French guy who knows what he's doing. And he knows how to make a film, and it's really well done.
I really liked it as well, I have to say.
Yeah.
My next film was The Rover, which is one of those films that kind of comes around once a year where you've heard nothing about it, you know nothing about it, you haven't read anything anywhere, and like I can vaguely remember how I kind of came across it online, and I was there going, that sounds kind of like a decent enough yarn, and it's basically it's Guy Pearce and Robert Pattinson are the two main characters in it, and it's set in Australia, rural Australia, and Guy Pearce is basically it's 10 years after a global economic meltdown. The whole of the world has gone into anarchy, and there's lawlessness and all this kind of thing, bit of a kind of tiny bit of a Mad Max kind of feeling going on throughout it, where you're kind of thinking anything could happen anytime, and characters that seem normal or relatively respectable could actually be very dangerous people. But anyway, the film starts off with Guy Pearce pulls up in his car outside this shop where you kind of barter goods. There's no money or anything anymore. And while he's in the shop, his car is stolen by 3 individuals who happen to be brothers. One of them is Robert Pattinson. Through a series of events, himself and Robert Pattinson end up on the road trip together as he tries to get his car back. And the whole time you're wondering, there's loads of cars in the film, what's so special about his one? And that's kind of keeps you hooked until the end. And
don't tell me.
Oh.
Another one most of you may not have seen, but it was very popular on the more kind of European scene, was Ida, which was a Polish film directed by Paweł Pawłowski and starring Agata Kulawski and Agata Trabaluszka, who are all obviously Polish. Now, what it's about is essentially it's about Anna, a young woman who was adopted by a Catholic convent when she was a baby. So she basically a baby was left on the doorstep of a Catholic convent, and they took her in and they raised her as a nun, and she's about I suppose she's about 18, and she's about to take her vows and become a nun. But she's encouraged to go to visit her one remaining relative before she does this. So she goes to visit her aunt, and her aunt is the polar opposite of her, really. She's basically a massive alco. Sleeps around. She's a lawyer, but she's just kind of lives life completely differently to how a nun would.
Semi-respectable.
Yeah, exactly.
Behind closed doors.
Yeah. So so basically, her aunt tells her, you're actually Jewish. So now the nun is Jewish. And she's like, oh no, and your parents died in the Holocaust. So they go off on a road trip to find where their bodies may be, and you basically have this incredibly unlikely pairing. Another 2 strong female roles, really strong. The aunt in particular is hilarious. Like it sounds almost boring, but believe me, it's not boring. It's actually bleak at times, but always kind of humorous. and not depressing, you know, and it's kind of reminiscent of 1960s cinema. It's very just very simple, you know. There's not many shots, and everything is kind of in place like, for a reason.
This is life, and life is strange, but it's kind of simple, kind of.
Yeah.
So my next film was one that I watched quite recently, about 2 weeks ago, and I was kind of in between two minds as to whether to include it. But it's I Origins. It's from the director Mike Cahill, who also did Another Earth, which was also a low budget science fiction film.
Very good.
Like I Origins, again, it's science fiction. If you like sci-fi films, I'm a massive fan of sci-fi. I think it's like my favorite kind of genre of films. If you like it, if you like that type of film, you definitely enjoy it. But there's also enough in it to keep, if you're not mad about that, you know, there's love story, bit of drama. But basically it's got Michael Pitt is in it, who plays Jimmy Darmody in Boardwalk Empire.
Yeah, he's a great actor.
Yeah, good actor. And Britt Marling, who was also in Another Earth.
Yeah.
Basically
she also wrote Another Earth with him.
Yeah. And yeah, she did, and they also did a documentary together a few years before, but so they seem to be kind of a good team. But the two of them are molecular biologists, and they make a discovery that is groundbreaking and will change the world and society as we know it. I won't go into it because it kind of ruined the film. The clue is in the title and in the opening scene. A lot of it kind of becomes clear. And the first 45 minutes are a lot of character development, but then like around the halfway mark it really gets into the whole idea. And what I particularly liked it about, you know, Cal's style is that he comes up with a unique story, and he's, you know, able to tell the story very well, and it's kind of things you'd never think of, but it's not like overly complex. It's, you know, it's food for thought, but it's enjoyable. It's a leisurely kind of watch.
So my next one, number 3 for me, is Nightcrawler, which if you haven't seen it, I think it's probably out of the cinema now, but it's one of the films of the year for me, probably because it was unlike any other film I've seen, especially in its subject matter. The director was Dan Gilroy, he's a writer, but he's a first time director, so certainly one to watch. The star of the show is Jake Gyllenhaal, who recently had done Prisoners, which was really, really good.
Yeah, very good.
You know, he's done a mixture of films that some not so great, but I think he seems to be really kind of becoming.
He's kind of getting into his own now.
He's coming into his own. Yeah, he's done a few now that are really good. Donnie Darko, and I really like him. So and plus they make Jake. They make him look creepy in this. He's not your kind of pretty boy or anything like that. You know? He looks, the makeup nowadays is great in so many films. They make people look so.
He looks
different.
kind of tiny bit ill.
Yeah,
like
he just
kind of pale and like a little sheen of like he's always got a fever or something that's kind of shine on his. He's a little nasty bastard.
He is. But his name is Louis Bloom, as the character he plays, and he's basically a man desperate for work in LA who he finds work as a videographer who essentially videos crime scenes and accidents and stuff like that, and sells his footage to lowbrow news stations. So these people fully exist, you know, like people who turn up to the crime scene, and instead of helping people, they just film them dying. Like it's kind of a weird thing to get into. They're the same people who hide in bushes and photograph celebrities, you know. And you know, like they're like
just like the paps, like, you know.
Yeah, the paparazzi. They're weirdos. Like they're a bunch of weirdos, and this guy is a weirdo. Essentially, and
it's like you don't need it's like you don't have a moral compass. It's just completely dead, and you just like come there with your objective, and that's all that matters.
And that's what it's reflecting on as well. It's talking about like the ethics of the news, and like how, you know, stuff like Afghanistan and it's so televised these days.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
what do we take as real, and what stories being spinned.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's kind of reflecting on that element of our society, you know.
Yeah. So my next one is my 4th of 5 is Still Alice. So I'm a big fan of Julianne Moore. I've liked her since Magnolia back in 1999, and I think she's probably one of my favourite female actresses. She's had some really good roles in the last couple of years. Like, I thought she was excellent in What Maisie Knew, Maps of the Stars. Some people aren't mad about it. I thought it was a good film.
Me?
It was you, wasn't
I haven't
it?
seen it, so.
Oh, have you not? Oh, okay.
False accusations.
Oh. It's a bit awkward. It was probably Shabelle there behind the camera who didn't like it.
Yeah.
But also, you know, I thought she was amazing in that. She played a, you know, whatever you think about the film itself, I thought Julianne Moore in that film was brilliant. But anyway, Still Alice, she's a linguistic professor. She's like a top in her field. She's, you know, wealthy family, wealthy husband, and all of a sudden she has the onset of Alzheimer's, and she starts to struggle to say certain words. And, you know, for a linguistics professor, it's kind of, you know, obviously must have been a bit of a fright. And then slowly, like, she starts to have like a cognitive debilitation where she can't remember simple things. She doesn't remember arranging to meet people, all that kind of thing. And I kind of like the idea of the film because there's a lot of films that talk about, like, or, you know, kind of the common diseases like cancer and, you know, other ones like that. But Alzheimer's is obviously, it's a very frightening disease because people, it happens quite suddenly, and it takes its toll quite rapidly, and basically in effect you just become a kind of completely useless to yourself and to your loved ones, and it's a hard disease to watch. People suffer from. So I actually thought the film was quite educational as well. Like, you know, it highlighted, you know, exactly how difficult a disease like Alzheimer's was. But the film itself was good. The acting was good. Alec Baldwin's in it again. He's good. And I really, really enjoyed it. Powerful drama, emotional, upsetting. But she also
not for a Sunday night, maybe.
Not for a Sunday night. So, you know, if you've been out Friday night and Saturday night and you've had 2 heavy nights, you know, and you're feeling a bit,
keep it for Wednesday.
Yeah, keep it for Wednesday. Yeah.
Wednesday night film. But so my next film, number 4, is A Most Wanted Man, which is Philip Seymour Hoffman's last film before he died. Rest in peace, you crazy motherfucker. Yeah. He's a great actor.
Shine on, you crazy diamond.
Shine on. Respect. So it's a great cast. Basically, it's Philip Seymour Hoffman, Rachel McAdams, William Dafoe, Robin White, and Daniel Bruhl, the guy from that German actor from the Rush, and you know, he's a great face, and so it's one
plays
of these.
Niki Lauda.
Plays Niki Lauda. Yeah. But it's the Philip Seymour Hoffman show. This film. It's basically, so the setup is so a refugee from Chechnya. Chechnya.
Yeah.
I knew I'd get that wrong. Yeah. Like, I mean, how is it spelled?
Somewhere over there near New Zealand.
He enters Hamburg in Germany illegally, and Philip Seymour Hoffman is leading a team of essentially like the German CIA, whatever you might call it there.
Gestapo, or I can't remember what they're called.
And they're conducting an operation that will, they're trying to get this guy to lead him to the most wanted Al Qaeda terrorist.
Okay.
So I suppose the best way to describe the film is Homeland meets Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy.
Okay.
So it's kind of got the drama of Homeland, but the subtle and the kind of intelligence and grey feel of Tinker Soldier. And and it's just one of those thrillers that I just really enjoyed. It all leads to this climax at the end.
Yeah.
And the climax, in my opinion, is one of the finest acting moments in cinema.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to say. I'm going to say it out loud.
I'm gonna finish off on another low budget science fiction thriller that I really enjoyed. Definitely in my top 3 films of 2014. Like obviously most of which I haven't mentioned here because we're just doing ones that you might have missed. But anyway, this one's called Coherence, and
Yum.
Is all I can say. It's just like
So scrumptious.
Yeah, it really is. It's okay. I read the plot before I watched it. I went, this sounds good, and then straight away, bang! 5 minutes into it, I'm like, yeah, this is really cool. What's gonna happen? And basically, it starts off with middle-aged kind of couples all meeting up for a dinner party, kind of like a New Year's Eve thing. And then they're sitting around having a glass of wine, big meal, chatting away, having the lols, and then and one of them mentions like, oh, did you hear about that comet that's passing over? They say it's passing real close to the Earth tonight. Blah blah blah. Should we hear that every week? And like, oh, look up in the sky tonight. Yeah, you never see them. But so then it kind of develops that the comet is kind of having a weird effect on people's behaviour and not just people, other things as well. And it's just like you're dying to know, like after when the story really starts to kick off, you're just dying to know what's going on, how it's all going to conclude. So I mean, for me, that's a great plot. The viewer wants to know what the hell's going on, and there's loads of twists and turns, really weird, kind of messing with my head, man. Moments.
It's like the sci-fi of maths as well.
Yeah, and it is. It's just it was just such a pleasant surprise, and I really enjoyed it, and I think anyone would. Again, it's not like you have to like science fiction. In a way, it's not really that science fictiony. Like apart from the comet, and
kind of has that like low budget horror setup with the handheld camera and everything.
Yeah,
but
exactly. And it's kind of it's a simple, basically the whole film kind of happens in a house with people. So a lot of it's your imagination, and I just really enjoyed it. Thought it was great.
Like as a filmmaker, it's one of those ones where you watch and you think, God, I could do that. They just have a house and some actors.
Yeah.
And they just have an idea, and they just pulled it through. But
it's all about the story.
Yeah.
Obviously the actors have to be good.
Absolutely.
But it's all about the story.
They pulled it off entirely. Yeah. So my final one is one that really surprised me, how good it was, because I just wasn't expecting it from maybe the snippet of trailer I saw or whatever. But it's Foxcatcher.
Yes.
So it's directed by Bennett Miller, who actually directed Moneyball as well, which I didn't realise till I looked it up. And
I didn't know that.
Moneyball is brilliant.
Yeah, that's a film I wasn't expecting to like, and I quite really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's like he does these, like Moneyball, you wouldn't expect a film about baseball numbers to be good, but it is. But this is a film about a wrestler, two wrestling brothers played by Channing Tatum and Mark Ruffalo.
Mm-hmm.
So Channing Tatum, the younger wrestler, basically is adopted by it's a true story biography, although based on a true story, because there's lots of facts that aren't exactly what happened. But he's adopted by John DuPont.
Actually, sorry, just to interrupt you there. I actually was told yesterday that the guy that Channing Tatum plays actually hated the film. Said that loads of it was made up. Didn't like it. But then again, you don't know, like, is it just because he was portrayed, he felt he was portrayed a certain way, but
Yeah, well, I'm sure he has a very, very good argument. But, we're here
to talk about films.
This is fiction. Yeah. So, basically, the wrestler is adopted by Jean DuPont, who is sort of the heir of one of the richest American families. So they live in this huge grounds. And he suddenly said that he likes wrestling and he wants to be a wrestling coach. So he just does what all rich families do, and what his all the money in the world. He just buys the wrestling team. So he just buys the best wrestler, Mark Schultz, who's a Olympic gold, and tells him he's going to pay him this, that, and that. And Mark's like, oh, this sounds brilliant. I'm going to go over straight away. His brother's more like, I don't know, who the hell is this guy? So he comes over and he's his coach, but the guy doesn't know anything about wrestling. And their relationship starts, and it's all just very strange. I kind of don't want to give away too much of what happens, because if you don't know the real story, it just surprises you at every corner.
Nice to enjoy it.
But it's really a relationship between, the main thing is between Steve Carell, who looks just nothing like him. I didn't even know it was him until about halfway through the film, which Abel told me. And Channing Tatum, and who also just looks quite different. Made him look like a real thuggy wrestler, after it, I mean, it really took me away. And then after, you're just looking into it, everything, you're looking at what really happened, and I actually found out that Mark Schultz actually had an MMA fight, and you can watch that. And if he had one MMA fight back in UFC 9, when it's like properly no holds barred, like no rules. He's wearing runners, and again fighting a guy wearing a gi, and he's a wrestler, and he just destroys him. He just takes him down, absolutely slams him. The guy's a beast, he doesn't know how to finish a fight, but like God, he can wrestle. He just absolutely creams him. It's brilliant. So watching all that was really cool. It reminded me, what I would compare it to is, it reminded me of Behind the Candelabra as well. A sort of a rich guy taking on a younger man and kind of using him as a friend, really. And then the other guy spiraled out of control, So it's
uncomfortable grooming.
It's like a grooming. It's kind of strange.
Just gonna do a quick rundown now of a few other mentions. The first one I have is Blue Ruin. It's like a revenge story. Then the second one, for the horror, just stick a little bit of horror in there. Not the most amazing horror film of all time, but pretty enjoyable, was The Babadook. Psycho child having nightmares, things get out of hand. And then my last one is Piranha Sharks. Hang on, can you just, that's private, can you leave that out?
So just list mine then. Mine was Life After Beth, which is I suppose a horror comedy, a zombie comedy. It's just really funny. It's worth watching for sure. It's John C. Reilly. Nymphomaniac Volume 1 and 2. For all this, any couple out there wants to watch just a romantic first date film. Doesn't matter if you're been together for a long time, or it's probably the most romantic film of the year. And there's 2 volumes, so it's great.
Or if you're a teenager and you want to watch with your parents.
It's suitable for
your boyfriend's over. Watch it with your parents.
Watch it with your girlfriend's parents. Then there's the Lego Movie, which is the animated film of the year for me.
Great things about it.
It's hilarious. It was magical.
Cool.
Then there's Starred Up, absolutely brilliant film. Starred Up. I think I might have mentioned the blog, so I didn't want to talk about it more. Then there's Under the Skin, which I might have reviewed as well. I didn't want to talk about more. 71, another one with Jack O'Connell, is really good as well. All worth checking out. And then the one that I did mention in this thing, just because a lot of people are torn between it, but most people have seen it. My favourite film of the year was Interstellar. I thought it was, just the best sci-fi I've seen in years. One of the greatest cinematic experiences I've been to. I thought
it's amazing.
I thought it was so in the IMAX. Loved it. He took us to a planet far further than we've ever been.
It
was great.
That's one that I just love the way you went from, everyone has this like, oh, it's a film in space, and oh look, you can like wave at Earth, but like Christopher Nolan takes you way beyond, past that, miles past all the galaxies.
Gone.
That was really, I really like that part of it. For me, if I was to pick one favourite film, I kind of think it probably would be The Grand Budapest Hotel. I didn't feel as if there was as many good, I found it harder to narrow down my list last year because there was so many good films. And
a lack of documentaries this year.
We have a lack of document. I think last year you had Blackfish, and I think I had one, I'm not too sure, I can't remember, but
there was a few during the year.
There was a lot of good, and there's no kind of, I think that a lot of the documentaries, the best ones, are only kind of coming out and have only come out in the last month or two because the Oscars are coming up. So
the police are here, so we better.
Yeah, we better.
Better get out of here,
Get
man.
out of here.
So yeah, happy.
Well, listen, it's been a
2015.
pleasure yet again, and
Yeah, and see you soon, guys.
it's been a pleasure. Foxcatcher.